Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games. This week we're going to cover our usual 3 games and we're going to talk a little bit about some things that I've been playing that you may be interested in taking advantage of or looking to see. Last week we had a opportunity to show one of the games, Massive Darkness, which was a lighthearted role-playing campaign-like game. And I have spent the week painting the miniatures and actually embarking on Massive Darkness. Now, those of you who play campaign-style games, cooperative campaign-style games, might be familiar with some of the recent predecessors. Gloomhaven comes to mind, Sword and Sorcery, Descent, Runebound. These are all games that all have a cooperative campaign element of players taking on a role and leveling up and fighting against a horde or two of creatures across usually a customized map per scenario. Massive Darkness has really overtaken my interest in the fact that I haven't actually even played much else this week. One of the reasons why is because Massive Darkness is like the popcorn cooperative game. Now, all of the other ones I've mentioned are excellent games, a lot of detail, a lot of components, a lot of setup, very crafted custom scenarios. Now, that's great, except for the time that sometimes, well, I like to veg. I like to actually just kind of like veg and enjoy life. And Massive Darkness is easy. It's a really simplified version such that you can jump in, play, and really not get bogged down in too much. It's one of the few games where I didn't even really need to print out any sort of like helper or summary of rules or whatever, even though it didn't really come with one except on the back of the campaign box or campaign manual, and yet I am having the time of my life. So I would recommend this for people who want a more of a light game. The only game that I think I could compare it to as far as simplicity but still being elegant and engrossing is Claustrophobia, which is a 2-player dungeon crawler game where one person takes on the dungeon and the other side takes on the travelers through the dungeon. It too has a similar element where you're really not getting bogged down in minutia. There are not hex grids to walk over or whatever. Things are very simplified and enjoyable. And on that front, I will end my yapping about Massive Darkness and let's talk about some other things this week. Okay, well, we are coming on Halloween week. So what does that mean? Well, here's a question that some people may or may not have asked me in the past. What are the best kind of board games to give out to kids at Halloween? And I have a very good answer for that. None. You don't give board games to kids on Halloween. Board games are precious. Candy is transitory. Stuff their wonderful little faces with candy. There are no board games that are good to give out on Halloween. And with that, let's go over the 3 games this week that I'm going to cover. Since it is Halloween, at least Halloween and for some and for others harvest time and etc., etc., let's talk Broom Service. Broom Service is a game for 2 to 4 players, which generally I would probably try at least play it with 3, but you're going over the course of a map and you're little witches moving around with your brooms. You're trying to score points. You're trying to yeah, that's basically it. It's a point thing. You're flying through clouds. You've got other little creatures to contend with and potions and such. And this is all interesting. It actually takes, this is a game that takes probably 2 or 3 times to really feel like, oh, I get this. This is fun now. It's a little bit detached the first time you play it. But it has an interesting element where basically there's always a powerful witch and a less powerful witch kind of component. And by that I mean that you are trying to get them during each time that you're taking your turn. You want to be the most powerful witch so that you can get like the greater advantage, where everyone else who chooses to be that type of witch gets a lesser advantage. I'm not describing it really well, just to understand that it has an interesting element where you're kind of bidding to see who gets to do the extra stuff while everyone else gets to do the normal stuff. And that's an interesting one. This is probably a 7 on a scale of 1 to 10 for me, but it is Halloween, so there you go. Next, Sola Fide. Now, don't forget, it's not just Halloween, it's also Reformation Day, which covers the topic of Martin Luther and his 95 Theses pounded on the wall. Viral messaging at its finest. Sola Fide, you playing the Catholics against the Protestants. What could go wrong? Well, a lot. And in this game, it's an area control game where you are trying to vie as either Catholic or Protestant, using your selection of card abilities to take control over various regions. And these regions are kind of like in a pyramid. It's interesting. I actually love the game theme, and I love the documentation that came with it. The game itself is okay. It doesn't necessarily like rock my world. I think in some ways it's symmetrical, almost to the degree that the tug of war can get stagnant a little bit for me. The going back and forth sometimes doesn't feel as satisfying as I would like, but at the same time, it is the absolute best game concerning, well, the Reformation that you have on the market today. And it isn't actually a bad game. And in honor of Reformation Day and the Halloween season and the harvest time and Reformation Day, if you're interested at all, this is actually a really good resource to even just explain to people what the heck is it. Catholic motivations, Protestant motivations, a lot of historical events are encapsulated and captured in this game. So definitely probably a 7.5 out of 10 for me. And finally, we have Crazy Creatures of Dr. Gloom by Michael Schacht. Michael Schacht has an interesting approach to gaming. It's very curious. He's able to make games that no matter what the theme is, it's all about numbers and I don't care. Zularetto and the others are like, yeah, great theme. Oh, I love it. Oh, it's a zoo. Oh, it's a marina. It's just back and forth. Michael Schacht makes the most sedentary games for me. Really popular. I mean, the Zularetto is like top stuff. People love it. I just don't really like them. They're just so in the middle of the road for me that they're neither hot nor cold. They're lukewarm. But in this game, you do get to make up crazy creatures, and I guess there's numbers and values, and eventually one number is like better than the other, and there you go. But it does come in a nice plastic tin. Ooh, metal tin, which means that when I'm old and I'm in a nursing home, I can put lemon lozenges in here and give them out to kids who will then leave my room and throw them away, because who's going to take lemon lozenges from a crazy old man in a nursing home? So yeah, points. And that's it for this week on Harebrained Games. I hope you guys have a wonderful harvest/Halloween season. Dress up scary, look like me, have a good time. Take care, and we'll see you next time on Harebrained Games.